Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Beyond the Backboard Podcast. I'm not sure what episode we're on, but we're pretty close to 20. So we're
I think
probably
we're at
around there.
19.
Probably. But Max, Earl, Omar, your usual hosts per day. And interesting times in the NBA. Interesting times. What do you guys have to say?
Um, it's Saturday. Pretty good day overall. Yeah, that's what I got so far.
Yeah, I know. That was meant to throw you off. We don't have a topic just yet. um just because it's the only thing on my mind nowadays, because I've been thinking about it for like, I think it was like 3 days or 2 days. Carmelo said he felt disrespected by the Denver Nuggets when they decided to give Nikola Jokic his number. Nikola Jokic literally came out, I believe it was an hour ago, and said, "I've been 15 my entire life." I think there was that one moment where I was 14. No, wait, it was 15. So, I mean, I have great respect for Carmelo Anthony as a player, but this has been my number my whole life. He didn't have like an impact on it. And apparently that's just what happened, right? And I don't say this a lot because Stephen A. Smith, you make me mad a lot, especially with your Knicks takes. Like it pisses me off because you don't
Big
have hope
facts.
in a. He doesn't have actual hope in the franchise, which, you know what, I can respect and understand if we weren't in a different position. I digress, but rare Stephen A.W. He kind of hit the hammer on the nail there when he said, "You forced your way out. Why do you feel like you deserve to have your why do you feel like you have to have your number retired there? You got to the Western Conference Finals once and then you guys regressed. You forced your way out to go to New York to sign a 5-year deal." So, I want to get your guys' thoughts on that, at least, because it I felt, I you know what, this is the first time I really agreed with Stephen A. Smith.
I um, I think everything needs context. So I'm gonna kind of disagree a little bit. I think the point of it was like how the Nuggets were being petty. I don't think this has anything to do with Jokic in general. It has nothing to do with him as a player and getting 15. It's more about how the Nuggets just gave away. Nobody knew what Jokic was going to be. They just gave away Melo's number, like 15, because they were mad that he left. Like, I'm not saying that he deserved to get his number retired or anything like that, but to not saying that it was a petty act in the first place will be silly because that's what it was. Like, Melo, he put some good time there. He had some good moments there. Like you said, he brought him to the Western Conference Finals before, like you said. He played good basketball there. They had good years there with Melo. Unfortunately, things just didn't work out. They had
He
an
forced
ugly
his way
ending.
out.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they had an ugly ending. A lot of players forced. Shaq forced his way out of Orlando, and look what's happening. He's getting his jersey retired. What, in 2-3 weeks? I mean, that's just the thing too. So I'm just saying, it's just the fact. Like, I get what Stephen A. is saying, but I think everything has context. Like, this had nothing to do with Jokic or anything like that. I think it was just the Nuggets being petty. But at this point in time, yeah, this is Jokic's number now because of the player he's become. So it's not any going back. Could it have been adjusted in the past? Maybe, but now it is Jokic's number. But I'm just saying there is an argument for everything. Like, I see where Melo's coming from. They just gave away his jersey to Jokic at that time. At that time, like, if Jokic doesn't pan out to be Jokic, one of the best players, arguably he'll be one of the best of all time. I mean, there's a lot of those guys. Um, then this will be a different conversation. So the fact that it's Jokic is Jokic's number, but I see what Melo is saying to a certain extent.
Yeah, I think, to say it's petty, I mean, you could make that argument. In my mind, I don't think an organization owes it to keep a number, to keep a number out of the rotation until it's retired, right? I mean, Jokic was drafted in 2015, I think, 2016, and that was only 6 years, 7 years after Melo, if that. Melo left in 2011, so it was only like 4 to 5 years after Melo left that they gave the number 15 away. It's not even like they gave it. I doubt they approached Nikola Jokic and said, "Hey, random second round pick, you want Melo's number?" Like,
Sure.
like Jokic said, he's been
No.
15 his whole life. He wanted 15,
Yeah.
and the number 15 is not retired by Denver. So what are they supposed to say? No, they can't like deny him on that grounds. It's just kind of a coincidence. So that's how it happened. So I don't really think it was petty on their part. I don't think Jokic was wrong for wanting it. I feel like, it is kind of unfortunate that now the Nuggets, probably the two best players in Nuggets franchise history, both happen to wear the same number. It's a little unfortunate how that wound up happening, but I mean, I don't see why there's anything wrong with just they retire both jerseys one day. Like, I think they could retire Melo's jersey right now or in a year or two, whatever. You can put that one up there. And then when Jokic is done, you put his number up there, 15. There, it would be silly to not retire you could retire it twice. It's more just to honor the player than anything. And then, once Jokic is done and both those jerseys in the rafters, then you can shut 15 down. So you don't have a third 15. That would be getting a little out of hand. But I think having them both up there would be fine. I don't think Melo would care. I don't think Jokic cares at all about this, to be honest. He's got way more important things on his mind, like horse gambling. So I don't think this matters to him whatsoever. I think it would be more petty if they wound up not retiring Melo's number and they give it to Jokic, or vice versa if they wound up retiring it for Melo and not Jokic. Like, you can give it to both. I don't think anyone would be mad there. Like, there's a compromise here that works for all parties in my mind.
Do I think his jersey deserves to be retired in the NBA? 100%. I think his time in New York definitely deserves that as well, right?
Yeah, I would say Melo's jersey retired by both the Nuggets and the Knicks, and I think that will happen.
I'm trying to make the case that, and I'm playing devil's advocate here because I love Carmelo Anthony. Carmelo Anthony was like one of the players that truly got me to love the game of basketball the way I do. And for me to say I feel like he doesn't deserve that is not what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to say that I don't feel like Denver owes him that. Just go for it.
If we're going off of statistics, man, like he is one of the best Denver Nuggets, like game by game, points per game. I'm just looking at stats. As a rookie, the dude was averaging 21 points a game as a rookie, as a Nugget. Second year, 20. Third year, 26. Fourth year, 28, 25, 22, 28, 25. And
I'm
then
sorry,
25.
but I while I do agree, right? I 100%. But
like people have gotten their jersey retired for less.
No, 100%.
Way less.
I agree with what you're saying.
He has a sniff under 20 a game as a Nugget. Like,
no, 100%.
That's why I like that take, Max. Like, there's an argument for they both should be retired. Like, there's a way you can do this without it being like him versus him.
I don't
whatever,
see that
whatever.
happening either, because that kind of dampens what it actually means to have your number retired as the Raptors. Yeah, I just feel like it's supposed to be one number, right?
If it's really
supposed to theory, but that's not the way it worked out. The point of retiring a player's number is to honor that player. I don't see why Jokic can't be honored just because Melo happened to wear it first. It's an unusual circumstance, but we can't blame either player. It's not Melo's fault that he chose a number Jokic would eventually be great with. It's not Jokic's fault he chose a number that Melo was already great with that was available at the time. It's not like they unretired it to give it to Jokic or something. That would have been crazy petty, but yeah.
No, yeah. That's my point
what
too.
I'm saying. I think this whole thing ended up being like a huge misunderstanding or just like a huge mistake because I guess at the same time Denver didn't really feel like they deserved that. Not that he didn't deserve it, but they didn't feel like that they should honor it. I don't feel like it was a move of pettiness. I just feel like it was a move of business. And
I don't think it's a business thing. I just think he left the team 4 years early. You don't typically see players' numbers retired until like 10, 20, 30 years later. Like, like Shaq's just now getting his Orlando jersey retired. If Julius Randle left the Knicks today, they're not going to retire his number 30 right now. Like, they'll still give, until it's up in the rafters like 10, 20, 30 years later. Like, Wade's just now like getting his jersey retired, I feel like. Dirk took a couple of years to get his retired. So, it was never going to happen instantly. So, and Jokic came along like only 5 years afterwards. So, it just hadn't come around yet. I'm sure, like I said, it will happen. But, I don't think the Denver was like, nah, we don't want to honor Melo. It's just like, this is not the time yet. He's still in the league, too. It's kind of weird to retire the number of a player who's still actively playing on another team.
I feel like, no, he's talking about Jokic is still in the league. So, it wouldn't make sense to. I think it's just, this conversation is just way too early. Like I agree with you, Max. Like, we're way too early in this conversation. Yeah. One, like you said, Melo just retired. Two, Jokic still has a long career ahead of him. So even if he were to retire, wouldn't make sense. Was Jokic going to change his number now? I mean, he's won a championship with that number.
Exactly. So there's no point. Yeah.
It makes no sense. I think this is a conversation where I could see, like Max said, they both get it retired. I don't see a problem with having two jerseys in the rafters with 15. Like, I think that would be a cool thing. Both of those guys impacted the team in different ways. Obviously, Jokic was able to win a championship, but Melo, I mean, he was an unseen offensive potential guy. Like you don't see a lot of rookies coming in the league averaging 21 and just sustaining that their whole like tenure on the team. So shout out to Melo, shout out to Jokic. Numbers are numbers. Hopefully they both get it retired. I mean, we'll see what happens though.
That would definitely be like a win-win situation, right?
Yeah.
Like that would be the win-win situation. I'm not saying I'm against it. I'm just saying I don't see the Denver Nuggets doing it. Just because
we'll see. I think it has happened. I think there are some teams that have two numbers retired for different players. So I think it does vary on an organizational basis. We'll see. Maybe the way it ended in Denver will, affect whether they want to put it up or not. There might be that might come into play down the line where they might choose to just give it to Jokic. I think that is, a question, but we'll see how that pans out. It'll be a while before we kind of know for sure where they're going to go with that.
Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, I was just looking up if that was actually true.
That's a good question. I feel like it's a thing. Don't quote me on it though, but yeah, I know Melo's also kind of. He's been, if you also saw this quote the other day of him circulating, talking about RJ being like a bland player or whatever. I think it was kind of funny that he said, you never know if RJ's scored 4 points or 26 points. And I think the day after he scored 4 points. So Toronto fans getting the full RJ Barrett experience right now. He goes from like 37 points to 4 points and like terrible efficiency.
Mm-hmm.
Earl, you're muted. I don't think we can hear you.
You're muted.
My bad. Whoa.
Things got
now he's got the
woof.
My bad. My thing.
Put that on.
Clip that. We're making that a short.
Yeah, my bad.
Max.
Too many buttons. I was just saying, it's crazy though, because he spent like the same amount of time as a Knick as he did a Nugget. Like I looked it up. I think it was 7-7. So
yeah,
it'd be interesting to see what happens there too. Because I know he's gonna get retired as a Knick. For sure. Like he has so much impact on that team historically, putting the numbers. I mean, we've all had Melo. We've all seen the moments of Melo taking over the guard and just putting that team on his back, just in general. But I feel like he has similar moments on the Nuggets too. But I just feel like the Nuggets situation just obviously, like you guys said, it just ended kind of badly. So we'll see what happens. But he definitely deserves both, in my opinion.
Yeah. Agreed.
I mean, the only thing I'm getting closest to what you said, Matt. Oh, okay, wait. The Knicks had 15 retired for Dick McGuire and later Earl Monroe.
Yeah.
Later, Blazers did 30 for Bob Gross and then Terry Porter.
There you go. So
I'm just going to this off the Reddit. So if this is wrong, it's wrong.
No, I think it's right.
It's done.
I feel
it's
like
been
I remember
done.
Seeing that in MSG's 215.
Look,
so, yeah,
we just saw the problem like that.
Some guy said Jokic has done more for the Nuggets than Melo. I mean, but at the same time,
that's easy conversation.
That's easy to say. Exactly.
That's easy.
Yeah, factually not wrong, but
come on.
Melo.
At the same time, you can't say Carmelo Anthony didn't do anything for that organization. Like
it's just,
I believe how many.
It's about timing too, team construction. Like it's a lot of things that go into it. Like that's why championships are tricky, bro. Because it takes a whole team. You got the bet. Like look at LeBron on Cleveland that first time. He took that terrible team all the way to the finals. What happened? He got dusted off because it takes a team to win a championship. So I see the argument too, but that's
Bron's interesting because it feels like Bron, most of the times when he's made the finals, he's either been like an extreme team disadvantage or like an extreme team advantage. It feels, it's either he's taken, Zydrunas Ilgauskas, Varejao, and Eric Snow to the finals in like the late 2000s, or he's got, Bosh and Wade and Ray Allen like there to back him up. And he goes to Cleveland. He's got like Kyrie and Love, and they're healthy. They win in 16, and then he just drags two more terrible Cleveland teams there. I guess the Lakers would probably be his best example of just like, like a very good team, but not like insanely overmatched. They're insanely undermatched. That was probably like the one finals where you're like, his team was kind of on equal footing as the other.
It was like, you're talking about 2020.
Yeah, when they made it. I mean, I would still say they were better than the Heat, but it wasn't like a huge talent discrepancy like there was in 18 where you're like, they stand no chance against Golden State, or when it was with the Heat super team and you're like, these guys should just win every game.
That Heat team was nice. I mean, you had Jimmy Butler playing best basketball and Bam kind of as their duo as well, and they had rookie Tyler Hero, which was crazy. That was a really underrated season too for him in a run. Like Duncan Robinson before he started playing bad. Beautiful basketball. That was really great basketball.
Yeah,
there was. No, that Heat team's like a good example of like how to construct a team when you don't have like an MVP caliber player. Because don't get me wrong, Jimmy Butler was still fantastic, especially in the postseason, and he always has been. But he's never really been in like a top 5 conversation or an MVP conversation, But it is still possible to contend to make a legit push at a championship just by getting a very, very good player like Jimmy Butler, who's probably like top 15, maybe top 10 in the league come playoff time, and just putting the right pieces around him. Like that was a real team, with Bam, like you said, Tyler, Duncan, Jay Crowder was on that team playing well. People forget how good Goran Dragic was as well. I know they lost him at some point during the finals, and he came back and tried to play, but he obviously wasn't ready. If Goran Dragic stays healthy, I think that series goes 7 at the very least. He was a difference maker for that team. Being able to get the ball to young hero, get Jimmy in his spot, set up Bam in the post. Like Dragic was legitimately like maybe their 3rd best player that series, and it's unfortunate that he got hurt, but that Heat team was just a really good example of like, you don't necessarily need the top guy in the NBA to go win a championship. Yeah. Even though, most of the times that is kind of what happens. But there's a blueprint out there that some teams are probably trying to follow where it's like, we may not have Giannis, we may not have Jokic, we may not have Tatum or Embiid or Luka, but like if we just build a good 9-man team, we can go compete with anyone.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Definitely. Yeah, I agree with you.
So a list came out earlier today from a random Redditor that says that the best player in the NBA statistically is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander with an RAT of 31.28, followed by Giannis, Nikola, Luka, Joel, AD, Sabonis, Jason, Tyrese Maxey, and Jalen Brunson. That's just the top 10. I'm not going to go on.
What was 80 on that list? What number?
80 was number 6.
Nice.
That's a good list. I gotta say this is a pretty accurate list.
It's what's it called, Omar? It's based on like, is this like Hoops Hype or whatever? Like, I feel like I've seen this.
I don't remember.
I seen it on Hoop Central today.
Yeah, I saw it there, but.
Yeah, it's a 2020 season. It's like these numbers. For anyone who doesn't know, it's like this list. I pulled it up. So
yeah,
it's like,
me too. I was just
honestly these numbers.
You're not gonna be able to see it, but it's like I've seen these lists before. I forget what they're sorted by, but I feel like I've seen like lists sorted in this format before. It's like some sort of like efficiency number or something.
Yeah. Honestly,
I'm gonna look it up.
I numbers are cool, numbers are great, but I don't know. I don't know. Numbers things, they compile these lists and put all these numbers together to say who the best player is. Although I do agree, like Shai has been having a great season. I think he should be number 1 in MVP. So I guess everything checks out. I just never really looked at it from a statistical standpoint. So I guess that was some good insight.
Yeah,
to see like efficiency.
I wouldn't go ahead and say Shai's the best player in the NBA right now, but I think top 5 is certainly fair. It's really tough to break into that. I feel like I've had this, the top 3 of Giannis, Embiid, and Jokic. I feel like that's a pretty solid top 3, and then you kind of got Tatum and Luka at 4 or 5, no matter how you want to put it. But I think Shai's right there with those two, certainly. Top 6, I'd say for sure.
I'm gonna put him
potential to move up as well.
Right now, I'm gonna put him top. I'll put him top 5, but maybe even top. I might even slide him top 3 just because.
Yeah, me too.
Just because. Like, for the most part, this is a new team. Like, if you think about Chet, this is his rookie year. Like, they haven't had a chance to work things out like the Nuggets have. Like the well, I would say this, not Celtics. The Bucks do have Damian Lillard, so that's a new addition. But for the most part, they have the same core. So Shai's kind of playing with a whole bunch of young guys. He's their vet, and he's kind of leading that team, and they're doing really well. So for that standpoint, and he's averaging like 30+ points, and he's getting assists. He can play defense too. Like, he's efficient as well. Like, I don't know. I kind of give the edge to Shai, man. I think he's having a great season. And overall, and he's so young, man. He's super young. Like, he can keep doing this. If he averages these numbers, man, he could be potentially top 1-2 player in the league. When some of these guys start cooling down a little bit. But yeah, I have him top 5. I can see how people argue top 3. But yeah, Max is right. It is kind of hard to crack into that top 3 category just because guys like Jokic, Jokic, Embiid, Giannis, guys like that, they're gonna play consistent to their level. So it's hard to break that. But yeah,
and they've been doing it. They've been doing it for a while. So when it comes down to it, I would give them the edge just off of historical precedent. And that's no hate on Shai. Shai is absolutely him, but You know, when Giannis has a championship finals MVP, Jokic has a championship finals MVP, Embiid has an MVP already. You know, I think it just, you know, I can't unseat them from those positions until like either Luka or Shea just makes it like undeniable, like they have to be at that table. But again,
Shea's, it's not like Shea's not right there. They're 26
and
11
right there,
on the season.
We're just talking fine margins, you know. When it comes down to like the thinnest of margins, like I'm going to give the edge to historical precedent.
But I think this is like that conversation we had too. Like the Thunder, they look really good, but we won't know how the Thunder's like peak form until we see that playoff series. Like we haven't seen how they act when they have to play a team 4 times and beat them 4 times in advance to a different round.
Yeah.
We haven't seen them like down like 2-1 or 3-1 in those situations. Like we just don't know.
Yeah. And I would be surprised if that, you know, if they don't struggle a little bit in the playoffs this year, if they don't underperform, but I think that's just part of the process. You know, I think, you know, a second round appearance, I'd say is certainly on the table with how good they are right now. I think a Western Conference, if this team makes the Western Conference Finals, I would say that's a successful season for them no matter what. Just being able to get there in your first time, being able to go through 2 playoff series and win them both. I would say their goals should just be obviously their goals to win a championship. Like, you know, they're good enough to where they're going to have their eyes set on that. But realistically, anything past the West, you know, anything past the Eastern, the semifinals in the West, it's just going to be gravy because, you know, it seems like they're checking all the boxes right now for a championship in 25 or 26 or 27 because Shea is still young, right? And, you know, I wonder if he would have ever reached this ceiling if he had just been on the Clippers because he got traded for Paul George. And, you know, he was kind of.
I was actually going to bring up a story. Trade. I was going to bring up a story that Doc River told, believe it or not. Doc River. Wow, I can't speak today. This is like the 3rd time I've done this. Isaiah Rivers. Yeah, Isaiah Rivers. Doc Rivers came out on a podcast and like discussed like Shea with Kawhi Leonard before they traded him. Apparently, they both knew that Shea was going to be a star, but at the same time, they didn't realize how long it would take. And Kawhi apparently seeming like the impatient one. I'm not saying that Doc Rivers is saying a truth or a lie here, but they said something along the lines of Kawhi had kind of a control on it. I want to get your opinions on it because I don't think Kawhi really had control over it. I think it was kind of a more like you're asking me, I'm giving you my opinion on it. But
I mean, I'll say this too. I think you got to think like I could see Kawhi having control in that situation, just like Bron in decisions about like who he wants to play with as a team. LeBron and AD made that choice like, hey, I think Russell Westbrook will work. And they went after him. Did it work? No. But they had a big say on why they should bring him here. Same with Kawhi. He just came off a championship. He's in a win now type of mood. Do I want to live with Shea right now, or do I want to go trade for Paul George and have a chance to build that dynamic duo? So I think that's the same concept there. Like he probably had a huge say in that trade. Me personally, it's funny that the Clippers, the last couple of years, they've been looking for a point guard. That's what they've been missing, and it happens to be the one they traded away. Like he would have fit perfect on this team. So, I think Kawhi probably did have a lot of voice as far as that, and he had control. Like, hey, if you do this, I'll come sign here and all that stuff. And if you sign, like, I think the deal was like, they verbally agreed, like, hey, I'll sign with you, like, if you go get Paul George, because it happened 1-2. Once Kawhi signed, and then they went Paul George, and the stories came out that Kawhi said he would sign if they went and got Paul George. So it was like, you make that decision, you trade him and get Paul George, or you keep him and you don't get either of us. So
this reminded me of actually a different story that happened to do with that trade. Apparently, Russell Westbrook went to Kawhi Leonard and said, hey, you should come to OKC and play with us. And then Kawhi was like, no, but I'm going to take that guy and bring him with me to LA.
Yeah, that's crazy. He yoinked Paul George. I mean, in the moment, it made sense for sure. Just because, you know, just purely from a timeline thing, you know, like Earl said, PG, you know, and Kawhi, they're, you know, basically the same age, on the same career path, you know, and Shea was still, you know, relatively unproven. He was showing flashes, and, you know, you could say like, oh, they knew he was going to be a superstar, but like, you know, like Omar mentioned, they didn't know how quick it would be. I think, you know, it was the right decision in the moment. You know, I can't blame Kawhi for wanting to play with PG over Shea. I can't blame Doc Rivers for backing a team with Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. If you told us we'd be sitting here on January 13th, 2024, and Kawhi and PG have not won one championship yet, like you would have, you know, rolled your eyes at that a little bit and been like, yeah, sure. They lost 4 straight years. And obviously there's been extenuating circumstances with injuries and stuff that have prevented that. But I mean, in the moment, I don't know a single person that wasn't scared of a Kawhi PG Clippers. So I still think, the potential is there, and this probably looks as close to a championship as the Clippers have been in that era. So it may still bear fruit. And, if they wind up winning a championship, then I think, at least they accomplished that, regardless of, could they play with Shea, could they have not. As long as I walk away with one championship, I think they'll be happy with that. And who knows, maybe they can get more.
And hey, you know what? They have the best opportunity they have is this season. So
Sure.
I would not be surprised if they end up going against the Eastern top. Oh, word? Okay. Okay.
I mean, my Western Conference Finals right
from
now
a Lakers fan, by the way.
No, I mean,
my Western Conference Finals right now is Denver versus Clippers. If I had to bet, I'm not a betting man, but if I had to bet on two teams, I'm betting on Denver Clippers. And who wins that, I don't know. But I would say those are probably the two favorites to get there right
I got OKC in there.
Like I said, I think it's definitely possible.
I got Lakers Nuggets rematch. This is the same position we were in last year, same exact time. And you know what happened? We made it to the Western Conference Final. So
yep.
Yeah. It's just the thing that worries me with the Lakers is that, like, last year, there was a lot of turnover at the deadline that had quite literally turned their season around. Yeah. And you saw that team pick up and, get through the playoffs and get to the conference finals. And you're like, okay, they made the changes necessary. They're heading in the right path. And I expected the Lakers to take a step forward this year, instead of going into the playoffs as a 7 or an 8 seed like they did last year, they play right during the regular season like they did during the postseason. They enter as a favorite, 2 seed, a 3 seed, maybe not being Denver, maybe not being like the top seed, but going in with home court, going in with high expectations, being able to improve on that. It feels like they've taken a step back. And maybe that's just because, we've talked about Darvin Ham's, coaching ability on this show before. Maybe it's just his lack of adaptability and kind of the hand that he showed last year in the playoffs. Teams are adapting and teams are getting better at, figuring out, okay, this is how we stop this Lakers team. And Ham is unable to kind of adjust and build new game plans and kind of strategize around that. It's like he showed his hand. I don't want to say too early because obviously you're in the playoffs. You got to.
He doesn't have a hand,
but it's tough. I don't want to say that the league is
figured
out the Lakers, but it sure looks like they're struggling more now.
Honestly, this is the thing about the Lakers. It's like everything comes back to Ham. I'll say this before. Like, if we had the same exact team with a different coach, right now we'll be between. I'll say there's not a good team. We'll be between 5 to 7 range right now.
You'll need.
If we had a different, I mean, Frank Vogel, he's on the Suns right now. They're not really.
I think the only reason why he got fired was because of how he handled the Russell Westbrook situation.
100%.
I think that's why he got fired.
Yeah, like that was absolutely horrible management from him.
I will say, I think NBA teams these days have way too short a fuse with their coaches. Like, Vogel got fired a year and a half after winning a championship. Again, largely because of this Westbrook situation, that a lot of which was out of his hands. And, he can't bench Westbrook because Westbrook wasn't willing to take that role. So he gets fired like a year and a half out of a championship. Budenholzer, say what you will about the Bucks flaming out of the playoffs last year, but Giannis was hurt 2 of those games. It was extenuating circumstances. And they were still the 1 seed, if I believe. They were the 1 seed. So firing a coach after literally being the number 1 seed in your conference, even though they had a disappointing playoffs, especially after, again, 2 years out from an NBA championship, the first NBA championship for Milwaukee, is crazy to me. And so, I understand why it is. There's an old phrase, you can't fire the players, so you just fire the coach. Why not? It's easy to scapegoat it on the coach. But there's a lot of coaches out there that just have, NBA Finals pedigree, championship pedigree. And I feel like that's just overlooked. It's incredible how short a leash these coaches have to, have 1 or 2 bad years,
I agree. We did it with Tom Thibodeau
throughout all the bad years. But, Spoelstra, they gave him, they let him have a few bad years when, Wade was retiring and that team wasn't the same. They kind of fell apart. But as soon as they got Butler and Bam and they made some good front office decisions, boom, Spoelstra is back to being probably one of the best coaches in the NBA right now. So I feel like more teams should look after, take the Miami approach and be like, you're not going to find a guy better than the guy we got right now, unless there's a clear-cut favorite head coach candidate out there that you can go out and sign. Just replacing these guys with anyone, like, no disrespect to like Adrian Griffin or Darvin Ham, but they don't have the pedigree of the guys they replaced. So in my mind, I feel like those teams, Milwaukee and the Lakers and other teams, it's not just those guys. I feel like those are just the biggest examples because they're coming off championships. But those teams, I feel like if they had just stuck with their coaches, certainly the Lakers, I think, would be in a better situation. And Milwaukee right now does not look, I'll give Adrian Griffin some time, but I can't help but think Mike Budenholzer would have this team sorted a little better.
I mean, they lost a lot of defense in that trade for Damian Lillard. Yes, the offense is there, but I mean, you can also put it on. Like, yeah, you did. And you know what? We did this earlier in the year with Tom Thibodeau. Like, this is exactly what we did. Like, 2 years ago, he won Coach of the Year.
Yeah.
So why are we talking about firing him this year?
I mean,
though
he was almost gone last year. He was like,
almost exactly.
Yeah, before the deadline last year, before the Knicks kind of picked it up in mid-December and he changed up his lineup, there was like everyone was like, fire this guy, get him out of here, terrible coach, like we replace him. Right now, I'm like, guys, he just took us to the playoffs and had us as like a 4 seed.
He had Coach of the Year. Like,
yeah, so like it's crazy how quickly fans especially switch up.
Yeah, I'll say this: if the Knicks don't trade Julius Randle, the downfall will be sooner than you realize.
I don't think there's a downfall with Randle. I just think there's an inherent ceiling,
No,
we're never going to be bad in the regular season with him, but I don't think we'll ever win anything meaningful with him.
I'm not gonna comment on that because
that's Randle's number one fan.
Slow your roll because I do want him to be traded as well. It's not like I don't. But at the same time, I want him to continue playing well so we could trade him for the highest price possible.
Fair enough. You know what? If Randle wants to go out, get his stats up so we can trade him at the deadline for a good player, I'm all for it. I'll take some regular season L's if it means we get a good trade.
This is the best time to trade Julius. He's been having a good December, good start to January, except for like one game. Okay, yeah, one bad game, whatever. Worst game of his career.
What are we going to trade him for?
Anything.
What? I don't feel like we can get anybody better.
I'm just saying his price right now. I'm sure there's a team out there who will buy a Julius Randle type of player for a decent package that gives you guys something that you guys need. And I said this
before. Give me an example of what team, because the only team that really comes to mind for me.
Max has this. I don't really follow Knicks.
The only team that really comes to mind to me is Oklahoma City, and I don't see them giving up any of the big guys.
Trade?
Exactly what I'm trying to say.
Your mind?
I think this is a trade idea that I had posed to me a little while back, and I honestly really like it. And it seems a little weird, kind of off rip, but I honestly legitimately really like this idea. There's already been talks of the Knicks maybe trying to get Malcolm Brogdon off the Blazers. I like an idea of us trading Randle, Fournier, and a couple picks, whatever first we got to do to get Brogdon and to get Jeremy Grant to replace Randle at the 4. Because you think about it from Portland's perspective, they're rebuilding. They want to get off the Brogdon deal. He's probably going to be traded no matter what. Grant, they did just sign to an extension, but it is a 5-year, $160 million extension. Like, that is a very lucrative extension. Yeah. Randle is on a cheaper deal. He's an established superstar. He's someone that, this Portland team is desperate for direction and desperate for talent. And as much as I don't like Randle, one thing he does not lack is talent. He can score the basketball, and he's a big-name player, coming off 2 All-Stars, 2 All-NBAs. He's a guy that can put butts in seats in Portland and, make the team somewhat relevant and will at least win them some regular season games off scoring alone. So I feel like Portland would be willing to do it. And then you look at it from a Knicks perspective, you get Brogdon to kind of, people say replace the quickly production for sure. He's also a taller guard, so if needed, he can play the 2 at times. I would still like to see him off the bench, but if you absolutely need shot creation, you can play a lineup of him and Brunson together. He's a solid defender, so he can play that 2 guard. Jeremy Grant, listen, I'll be the first to say he's never put up any sort of meaningful stats on like a good playoff team, but he has been averaging 20-plus points consistently for the last couple seasons. And he's a good fit for the Knicks. He plays defense. He's a tall, physical power forward. He can come in and score. He can give you 20 to 25 a night. I think that he would fit in perfectly in the starting lineup next to OG, next to a healthy Mitch or a Hartenstein. I think a 9-man team of what the Knicks have right now, with you replace Deuce McBride with Malcolm Brogdon and you replace Randle with Jeremy Grant, the ball movement would be great. The defense would be top. You've got 9 quality NBA players up and down the roster. In my mind, if that trade came across my desk, I'm signing it without a hesitation. I think it makes sense for both sides. It gives the Knicks balance, and it would probably give Brunson the best chance to go lead a championship team, because every single player that would be in that rotation is a solid to great NBA player. And so I know, Omar, you're shaking your head there. You don't like it but hey, I think
that gives us absolutely no room to sign anybody else. We are not We're not a championship team at that point either. We're just not.
Listen, who you
Jeremy Grant?
Who are you holding off to sign?
I don't see us making a big
I will admit, you're saying that you're trying to push to the fans that Jalen Brunson, Jeremy Grant, and OG Anunoby are the one.
Like, that's not going to work. Like, yes, that's a heavily defensive centric lineup. And like, yeah, I love defense because that is our main output of what we could do it better than offense. That's our thing. But where is the offense? We don't have any. If we have Jeremy Grant and OG Anunoby as our two guys under Brunson, like it just doesn't make sense. We don't have any offensive power. We'll bring along Jeremy Grant on a bigger contract, and then we'll try to get Donovan Mitchell when we can't even get anymore because we hit the tax wall. Like there's no improvement to get better just because of money.
Right. In this world, it's the Knicks saying we're good with who we got, that this move makes us the championship team, but we don't need to go chase a Donovan Mitchell. We don't need to chase a Devin Booker, that this team is good enough to go win.
I will say, I mean, Jeremy Grant is having a really good season.
He is. I mean,
he's
shooting. You look at pure points, and obviously the game goes way beyond points, but Jeremy Grant has averaged 20 plus for a long time. OG Anunoby's averaged 15 plus. So if you're thinking Brunson can give you 25, you get 22 to 25 a game from Grant, and you get 17 to 20 from OG.
But
there's some points there. And Brogdon's a good 15 off the bench. Josh Hart is probably a good 10. Dante DiVincenzo looks like he could push 20 points on some nights. So there is enough offense. The offense would obviously be the main concern for this team without a doubt. But, you'd like to think that the defense enables you to get out and transition and run more, which is something that OG Anunoby does really well. Hartenstein, Josh Hart does really well. So you get easy points that way versus in the half court.
I'm just not buying it because of the money.
Grant,
that's it.
I mean, Grant shoots 41% from 3 too.
Exactly. You got spacing.
6 attempts
spacing around Mitchell Robinson and Hartenstein, which you need. You've got spacing other than those two guys. You got 7 guys who are good shooters, in my mind. And like I said, Omar, the money is there, 100%. You make this move, you are locking yourself into this team. You're saying this is the championship team. We don't need any more moves. We're not chasing a superstar. Jalen Brunson is the guy on a championship team, and you're locking into that. And you're taking a chance, 100%. It's not the flashy move. It's not, the flexibility move. It's just a move that I think would be good to get off Randall, and I'm a believer that team could at least contend. I'm not saying they'd be a favorite. Everything would have to fall into place for that team, but I think it would be possible.
Julius Randle is
free. Julius.
It's slightly younger than Jeremy Grant.
They're both in their primes. I'd say they're both. They're both
slightly like November 29th for Julius Randle, and it's March 12th, 1994 for
Jeremy. Age is not a factor in this. You're still getting a guy who fits the Brunson timeline well. Brunson and Grant are basically going to exit their prime at roughly the same time. So you've got a good couple years window here, especially with OG being 26 and everyone else on the team being young. You got a couple years to where, if the East falls open, I think that team could push a finals. It would take a lot, granted, not saying they're ever going to be a favorite, but if you truly believe Brunson is an A1 and can take you to a championship, you're going to put 8 guys around him who know what they're doing and are going to contribute to winning basketball.
I'll say this too. It's time that y'all free Julius Randle, man. You're wasting his prime. I think the Knicks, they're not giving him enough shots. They're not giving him enough possessions. Right, he should be the number one guy. He should have the ball in his hand every possession, running the offense. And I'm glad if you guys trade him to Portland, he will be that guy. MVP, championship. He'll lead Portland to a championship with Scoot Henderson shooting 2% from the field. I believe that he will make Scoot a better player. They will force him to get in the gym and work harder.
I got a trade earlier today.
Would only get 2 shots a game playing with Randall. He might get 2 shots a game. I don't know about 2%.
That might be better for him.
This has to do with our fantasy league.
Last game, might be better.
There's definitely been some young guys that have struggled so far. There's the rookie class has kind of been up and down. There's some guys
minus 84 really well. Max.
What was that?
Minus 84 plus minus. That's all I can say.
Yeah. I got a trade in our fantasy league today for Scoot Henderson for Chet Holmgren.
I'm taking that in a heartbeat.
I'm taking that if I'm the one getting Chet. I'll take that if I'm the one getting Chet.
Bro, Scoot Henderson is going to be the MVP in 2027. 100%. No doubt in my mind.
Listen, I'm selling Scoot Henderson.
No hot take. I promise you Scoot Henderson will be a better player than Chet in 8 years.
Oh, I'll take the under. I'll take the Chet on that.
8 years. Scoot will be a better player than Chet Holmgren.
I'll take the Chet on that.
Hands
Maybe
down.
It's just recency bias, but I have not been impressed by Scoot.
The Kobe's of the world, bro. Those guys didn't start off good. Kobe didn't start off the best. But you know what? You know what he is? Okay, maybe a little bit better than Scoot. Yeah, he started off a little bit better than Scoot, but this is year 1, bro. I'm not stressing too much on a year 1 career rookie player. I'm not stressing too hard. Now, if we go start getting to the 3, 4, and 5, that's when it gets a little bit tricky because those are development years. But year 1, it can be hit or miss, bro. But that's not going to define your whole career.
I want to ask you guys about something Kendrick Perkins said.
Ooh,
So I've just been watching clips and just note that I don't believe this,
Oh gosh.
please.
here we go.
So Kendrick Perkins said when it's all said and done that the Knicks would be number 2, the only team under Boston when we enter the playoffs.
Sorry, I was sneezing.
Yeah.
Cap.
I don't think you were.
Listen,
but
I appreciate the Knicks
Yeah.
support, Kendrick. I appreciate him back in the Knicks. I don't think we're gonna get a 2 seed. I think we're already too far behind for that to be reality. I think the 2 seed's gonna be Boston and then either Milwaukee or Philly in some order. That's gonna
we're
be your
not
top
far
3.
off from either of them, though.
If
I
you
mean, we're
guys
not terribly
finish,
far off, but I think if anything, we probably have a better chance of making the Eastern Conference Finals than being a top 2 seed. I'd say we're more of a playoff team than a regular season team. So
if you
I don't
guys
think either is
finish
extremely likely, but-
top 2, I will get a Knicks jersey.
We already have a deal if the Knicks are not top 3 that you have to anyway. So, and if the Lakers are top 3, I have to buy a Lakers jersey. But
Well, looks like we're both not getting jerseys this year.
No, you know what?
Looks like we're both not getting jerseys this year.
Look, this is why I'm against trading for Julius Randle. Like, yes, we had a bad game last game. We had a bad game last game, and we didn't play too well yesterday or the other day against a Luka-less Mavericks, but it pisses me off.
Hey, Kyrie hooped, bro.
I did call
Kyrie hooped.
Wait,
Kyrie
Omar.
hooped.
Omar, tell them what.
I'm not talking about my parlay. I am not talking about my parlay.
No, I'm not talking about that. I not only called that the Mavericks would beat the Knicks. I said that Kyrie Irving will go off for 45 points. Omar,
you didn't say 45. You said 40. But look, exactly though, exactly. Like it's still a good call, but I'm just saying, clear.
I told you it was gonna happen.
But
I told you. Kyrie's got that dog in him.
Bro, my parlay, I missed it by 1-3, 5 points to win 4.5K.
Oh well.
OG and Anobi. Like I love OG's hustle, but damn it, man, you sold me last night. Damn it, man, you sold me.
Add him on Twitter. I'm sure he'll care.
No, he won't. Exactly, bro. I don't get sports bettors like that. Like, how are you gonna get the balls to DM a fucking player and be like, you didn't hit my parlay? Like, bro, get over it. That it's fully on you.
There's a lot of losers out there, and a lot of them do gambling. A lot of them do sports gambling.
It's way too advertised, bro. They gotta chill out with sports gambling.
They do.
It's on every commercial. It's on ads, TikTok, whatever, and they're spamming it. Oh, get this Prize Picks daily entry 10 for 1,000. Like, no, bro. They gotta stop. They gotta chill out with that. I liked it. It was a lot better when it was illegal, for the most part. I'm just saying.
I mean, it's just crazy. If you would have said like even 15 years ago that the NBA would have official betting partners,
exactly,
that would have been that's an insane statement. The fact that not only is it legal, but like the leagues actively promote it and lean into it. I mean, and you get why they do it from a business standpoint. But the fact that this has become normalized is crazy.
Insane. Yeah. I hate it.
I wouldn't be surprised if still some referees are doing.
Oh, for sure. Oh, I got a couple guys on my list.
Like, I'm sorry. Remember the game against the Lakers?
Eric Lewis.
Yeah.
Don't forget. Where is he now? How come the story just disappeared?
Eric Lewis was sus. Eric Lewis was very sus.
Remember they said
Eric Lewis, not just Eric Lewis. It's CP3's favorite guy.
Scott Foster.
That's the betting thing.
That is
the betting thing.
But that's not betting.
That is an absurd amount of phone calls to be calling somebody who's sports gambling and is in your circle of guys. That's a too many. Max, I don't call you 150 times a night to talk about my parlay.
Text though.
Okay, listen. That's the one time I did it because I was 5 points off. It just broke my heart.
Hey, bro, this hit. Nah, I'm just playing. Let me not. We're not gonna expose chat DMs.
Nah,
this is not MBD. If you know, you know.
What happens in BTV stays in BTV
for sure,
brothers.
But I'll say this too. It's crazy how the whole Eric Lewis thing just went under wraps. Like
really
they had whole pictures of his whole family in Celtics gear. It was crazy. He was wearing Celtics gear. He had accounts. They connected accounts to him.
Wait, could you? Sudden, I'm sorry, boom, I don't want to cut you off. I'm sorry, I don't want to cut you off. But can you kind of give me give the audience like a kind of preface just in case that they don't know who Eric Lewis is and what happened.
If you don't know who Eric Lewis is, then you need to get help. He's the worst official of all time. he rigs games in favor of the Celtics.
Tim Donaghy would like a word with you on that one.
True.
Tim Donaghy.
But yeah, he's basically a scammer. Scammer gets scammed type of vibe. So that's who he is. That's all the context you guys need.
Yeah. No, because the case closed in the middle of summer. The NBA was smart. They closed in the middle of summer when not much is going on and like no one, the NFL is coming back. It's like,
well,
the
explain
NBA's not
the
really getting any
case.
headlines.
Like, let's just say, guys, let's say that.
I mean, there was no case. It was just Eric Lewis was wearing Celtics gear. He had Twitter accounts talking about how he rigged these games. All of a sudden, quiet. No noise.
I don't know if they were actively talking about rigging games. I don't know.
They were. It was comments about how they go about games and how they go about calling fouls and stuff. That was really,
those are the comments.
The whole thread.
The comments were very incriminating.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
that was on his burner.
What happened.
You said it was on his burner account.
Yes,
yeah.
And they connected all that stuff, which was crazy.
I think the way they found him was because the email on his burner account was his official work email. That is an all-time Twitter blunder. Like, if you're gonna make a burner, make a fake email. Put it to like some random email. He had like his work email. I'm surprised it took people this long to figure it out. Maybe he just made it public and messed up. But yeah,
for real.
He magically just retired. Remember, he didn't get fired. He retired.
Yeah, retired. My bad. Yeah.
And the case was closed. The case was closed when he retired. So
more like Adam Silver held the gun to his head and said, "Retire."
Adam Silver does a lot of shady stuff. I'm not even gonna bring it up, but
respect Adam Silver. We want to be hired by the NBA.
Situations right now that are in the mist, I'll say, that we just haven't talked.
I mean, he's letting Draymond back after 12 games, right? After an indefinite suspension that turned out to be like 3 weeks. That's the shortest indefinite suspension ever.
So I'll just say
that infuriated me so much.
If that makes you mad, I'll just say Josh Giddey, and then I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, that we've spent a lot of time on Josh.
You want to know what Josh Giddey's reward is for messing with a minor? Winning a championship.
Yeah,
they're not going to win.
He's writing up Adam Silver's writing up the script as we speak.
That's crazy.
RJ Barrett was out with a migraine for basically as long as it took Draymond Green to do the counseling.
That's crazy.
Bro,
yeah. Is Draymond is he due to come back? Like, I know the suspension is getting lifted, but like is Golden State?
I think it's more like conditioning and stuff. I'm sure he'll be back.
He's back to team facility. I don't think he's back to games per se.
Not game, but I mean presumably games will be soon. Like
probably. I would say another month. I
don't know, a month. I would say like 2.
I'd be surprised if he's not back in a week and a half. Yeah. If he's already back at the facility, he's getting ready to go. You don't need.
He's been back for like a week.
It won't be a month.
He's been back for like a week. I'd say by the end of this month, maybe the end of this month. I don't know, man.
He was considering retiring, right? Like he said on his podcast, like he was thinking about retiring, and then like he had conversations with Steve Kerr. He dropped like a whole like monologue podcast. I'm pretty sure.
I'm sorry, he's definitely lying about crying with Steve Kerr in the yard.
Is he lying? Were you there, Omar?
Not, bro. But you're crying with your coach in the yard.
Look, man. I'll say this. It's important for us as men to express our emotions, man. I'm not gonna cry. I'm not gonna get on somebody for saying they cried. It is what it is. If he cried, he cried. Good for him. Everybody needs a little cry.
I'll believe him. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. I'll believe him.
I just don't think he's gonna. I don't think he would lie about cry. I don't know if
I might just be hyperbolizing. Maybe it's like a single tear.
You don't think NBA players lie or blemish about anything in their lives?
Now, did I say that out my mouth?
I'm sorry, but the unfortunate reality is all of them do. They never say their true feelings about anything because they don't want to get fined by the NBA. That's just how stuff works.
Maybe not. I mean, that's such a generalized statement. Like everybody, like I don't know.
Not about everybody, but
I'm
like
just saying,
what happened to Enes Kanter?
Has someone lied before? Yes, everybody's told a lie, but I'm not just gonna label everybody as a liar. I mean, some people may be telling the truth, some people may not be.
I don't know. I'm on the benefit of the doubt in this situation. Like I said, he's probably hyperbolizing it a little bit, but we all do that. But I mean, think about in general. I think 98% of what you hear from NBA players is probably either a lie or a stretch of the truth, or it's tough to speak it is tough to speak your mind when you're a very public figure. You've got brand endorsements and this, that, and the other thing. And, it's easy to just give the corporate answers. These kids get, these days with how AAU works, these kids get media training at like 12 years old. Like they know all the right things to say. They know what not to say, so that's why every interview sounds the exact same. It's, everyone's just trying to help the team and play good basketball and win games. So We got we got 450 robots in the NBA, but that's just how it is.
Yeah, it's like
we have
most
one
of these guys are
robot, and he has monthly updates. Kawhi Leonard.
Oh Lord,
he is an actual robot though.
That
Kawhi is like a physical robot, but so maybe 449 fake robots and one real one. They all take after Kawhi.
Yeah,
it's just like iRobot. Y'all seen that movie before?
Yeah,
I need to see it. I've heard people reference the movie.
You've never seen iRobot?
I think it's a series.
No, no, it's a movie. Will Smith.
Oh yeah,
I've heard good things about it. That should be on my list. I'm not really like a sci-fi kind of guy. Like
come out though, chat. We gotta get a BTB movie night.
Oh gosh,
BTB movie night. We gotta start streaming more on BTB because we've been streaming
monthly
on
movie night.
Our individual YouTube channels and stuff like that. So if you guys want to go ahead, we're gonna list all of our kind of socials in the description below, and we're gonna kind of throw in everything in there because we start streaming like our own individual POVs of the games that we play during the night. We'll probably hop on 2K later today, I assume, and we'll start playing some games.
There we go.
So we'll start. Sometimes it's weird, like the way they record things. It's like mirrored. It's mirrored, so it's like But
maybe
anyway,
it's up
guys,
there. Maybe it's down there. We don't know. Maybe it's by Omar over there.
It took me a second to point to this. I don't know why. Like that was so weird to do.
Yeah, but
there we go.
Do you guys have anything about the NBA that you guys kind of been seeing for the past week? Anything interesting? Where do you guys think Dejounte Murray is going to land? I know there's some rumbles about the Lakers. There's not really much Knicks chatter amongst that, and I'm semi grateful for it. There's also been some Miami Heat chatter. So what do you guys think about Dejounte Murray, and what do you think about bringing Dejounte Murray to the Lakers, Earl?
Will it happen? Probably not. I feel like for the most part, our moves are really silent. So the fact that this is really loud, it just seems like our name is being used as leverage to make other teams kind of buy into it and offer better packages. Because usually when Rob Pelinka makes a move, it's a player that we don't really talk about a lot. Same thing with the Rui Hachimura trade. Wasn't on our radar at all. Rob Pelinka just went in silently, traded Kendrick Nunn and a couple movie theater snacks, 3rd round picks, and we got
that was a good trade
for free, basically. Yeah, I love that trade. But yeah, will he fit? Yeah, I think he'll fit well. I mean, Javonte Murray and Anthony Davis in the pick and roll. I mean, I will watch that all day. I feel like we need a guard who can actually get AD the ball. He's a great passer. He plays good defense. We've been struggling at defense from the guard position. He's been shooting the 3-ball really well. I think his last 6 games, he's shooting like 40% from 3, so that's good. No, it's not the best sample size, but I think he's shooting overall probably like 37-ish% from 3, so that's cool. Yeah, it'll be an upgrade. It all depends on what it costs. Nobody knows what it costs. I heard that for you guys, it was quickly in the first. Apparently for us, it cost D'Lo, Austin Reeves, and every other player on our team too. So the Lakers tax is crazy. I'll say that. But
I've actually only been hearing reports of it only being around Austin Reeves. If you guys are not willing to trade Austin Reeves, so you guys are probably not getting Dejounte.
Well, yeah, I think contract-wise too, we would have to do. Well, depending on the deal, because I think the overall package, my fault, I didn't provide enough context. It was going to be like a package with Reeves and D'Lo, a first, I think maybe Gabe or something like that. But then it would have been like Javonte Murray, Clint, and I think Bogey or something like that. Like it was like a bigger package, which has been reported. But since it's so loud, I just don't see it happening, man. Lakers, trades that you hear a lot about are trades that won't happen. And I've kind of learned that being a Lakers fan. It's just a fact.
I think DeJounte just needs to go to a team where he could be the point guard and the lead guard, because that's where we saw him really break out in San Antonio, was as the point guard. The only reason they traded him was so they could tank and get a shot at Victor, which, wound up working for them. They probably made the right move in the long run. But since DeJounte has been on Atlanta, I'm not going to say he's been bad playing next to Trae Young, but he hasn't progressed like people thought he would. Obviously he brings great defense. Obviously he brings great playmaking, but, he's just not as effective as an off-ball 2 guard as he is as a primary ball handler and, as an oversized point guard. So it's not to say he's a bad player, but I certainly think he should go somewhere like the Lakers where he could be a lead guard. I think Miami would also be a great fit. That team's been needing the point guard for a little while because, Kyle Lowry is getting up there in age. And I think DeJounte Murray sliding in there, again, like Earl said, always depends what it costs. But he could maintain their big 3 core and put DeJounte Murray next to Tyler Hero and Jimmy and Bam and figure out the bench like the Heat always do, because they'll take some random guy from, the 8th G League team and make him into a competent NBA bench player, then that team would definitely
AKA Hayward Highsmith
in the East. What was that?
AKA Hayward Highsmith.
Yeah, literally. Like, they just Hayward Highsmith comes
out of nowhere, literally.
Just starts playing great. So I think Dejounte would fit great for there. Any team that needs a point guard should be looking to go get Dejounte Murray right now. Because I think if you put him back at the 1, he can probably reach that potential that a lot of people think he can. And it will definitely live up to that contract that he's getting right now.
I just had an evil smirk on my face because I thought of something really interesting. I mean, I think this was brought up before. I think San Antonio has slight interest, but what if San Antonio brought back Dejounte Murray?
If they could figure it out and that relationship is still there, and
losing, no more losing. I'll tell you that much.
I feel like they would have to give up
Vassell.
One of Devin Vassell or Keldon Johnson. They would have to. I think that's.
I would do that in a heartbeat.
No, I would probably do that too. I'm just saying, like, they would have to give up somebody, but I would like that pairing a lot. I think
it's not the worst idea. I mean, it's not like. Other than Vassell, it's not like the Spurs young core have shown a ton of potential. I mean, again, they're not bad, but it feels really
I want
like
Jeremy for free, bro, because he is not for that system, respectfully.
I mean, look, if he can get back to his true position at power forward, yes. But that's only if they can get, like, a Dejounte Murray. I mean, look, these guys are just straight up missing Victor right at the rim. I must have seen, like, 3 or 4 separate videos of Wemby just going up, putting his hands down on the basket just because he can. Like, to show his teammates, like, yo, chuck it up, I'm going to catch it.
Yeah.
I mean, the Spurs definitely need a point guard. And, obviously that's not going to turn them into, like, a playoff team instantly. But,
like, Trey Jones is a good guard. They just don't start him. They don't play him either.
Spurs need a point guard. Man, interests you in one of the best point guards in the league.
If you say D'Angelo Russell.
He can shoot the 3 ball. He can play make. He can finish with contact. His IQ is Bron level. He's trained with the best. He's been the understudy of one of the best. D'Angelo Russell will win you basketball games, but he won't win you championships. But you guys aren't competing for championships right now, so trade us Devin Vassell, and we'll give you D'Lo. And
it was a good try.
And D'Lo and a first. I'll give you D'Lo and a first for Devin Vassell. Just get him off our team.
Isn't that like the only tradable first that you guys have?
I mean, for now, until the end of the season, yeah.
I mean,
then we'll have
everybody gets picks.
No, I'm saying then we'll have 2 open up, so we can't, because you can't trade back to backs.
Right.
Yeah,
I think the idea of Dejounte back in San Antonio, if they wanted to make that work and they just wanted to go forward, sacrifice some of their young pieces that maybe aren't panning out like they thought, and just go for the Dejounte, as kind of the more veteran presence, but he's still like 25, 26. He's still very, very young and has great years ahead of him. So if you wanted to just roll with him and Victor as your 1-2 punch, build around that, I don't hate that. San Antonio's struggling right now. Obviously, Victor's the only untradeable piece on that team right now. So if you're not going to start Trey Jones, like you said, Omar, I think you said, like, they're not playing Trey Jones and he could, do a better job. So if you're not a believer in Trey Jones, go get yourself someone who's played under Pop, knows the system, can make that work.
Apparently Pop just doesn't want, like, a small guard starting or something.
Well, that Dejounte will fit right in.
That's exactly why I think Dejounte is, like, the exact piece that they're looking for, because
he really is.
You can tell that Greg Popovich just misses the tall point guard he used to have.
Yeah, and again, I don't think they traded him because they thought he was bad and they didn't believe in him. They literally traded him because he was too good for that team.
I think Devin Vassell and Trae Young will be a better fit than Javonte Murray and Trae Young, in my opinion.
Yes, I do.
I agree with that. I think it'd be a better fit both ways.
Because Devin Vassell doesn't need the ball to be effective at times, and
he's actually a 2 guard.
Yeah, he's an off-ball too. He's very good at moving without the ball. That's something that Dejounte Murray is still learning. Devin Vassell is very good from what I've heard and from what I've seen. Moving without the ball. Doesn't need to be an insane ISO player. He's not really a pure playmaker, but his isolation skills far surpass Dejounte Murray, and his off-ball movement far surpasses Dejounte Murray. So, like you said, it's a good fit for both ways, I think. If they could work out a deal around that, I think both teams would be better off for it, honestly.
Max, I know you were a fan of possibly getting Dejounte Murray on the Knicks, but as of recent, like, kind of news, I haven't been hearing much about him being recruited by the Knicks. If we were to, like, kind of draft up like a little trade that we could possibly put together for Dejounte Murray, what do you think we would have to give up?
I mean, from what I've heard, it's similar to what Earl said, where it's like, they originally wanted Quickly and maybe 2 firsts for him. Obviously we don't have Quickly, so It would have to be something. It's just a trade that wouldn't make sense. I don't think, like I said, like Dejounte as a player, I think would be good. And if they want to just give him away for like Fournier, Deuce McBride, and a first, like, sure, I'll take it. Like, but I think for any sort of actual package, I don't think it would make sense. Because I do think he's a solid player. I just think there's better trades we could make to get guys that fit our style a little bit better.
You're not going to like my answer.
A Shams level package.
You're going to say Grimes
no.
and Mitch.
He's going to say Julius
Grimes and no, I'm going to say Grimes, McBride, Evan Fournier, 3 picks.
3 what round picks?
Firsts.
I don't think
the unprotected.
The thing is, I don't know if they need I don't know if anybody really needs Evan
It's not the worst package from Atlanta's perspective. Like, if we threw 3 decent first round picks, they would probably trade Dejounte for 3 firsts because that's about what they gave up for him. So they would probably take a return on investment.
And like, even if we just throw in like Quentin Grimes in that deal, I feel like we would win because I feel like he has high value for what he is right now. Yeah, and people think he's going to be a little more than that.
I think he could be a lot more than that. Personally, I think he could be a lot more than that. And I want that on my team.
we have a situation where we can trade them and still have a defensive guard coming off the bench in Dante DiVincenzo.
Right. Man, I just love Devo in the starting lineup so much. I'm like,
right? Like, I love it.
I don't even think we need Murray. Like, since last couple of weeks, Dante's been hooping. Grimes is playing well off the bench. So I'm kind of like, I don't even want to touch the backcourt right now. Like, those guys, they're figuring it out. They'll be fine. I'm a believer in those two.
Yeah.
And I think it's one of those situations again. Like, do you want a situation where Murray is kind of in that secondary ball handling position again? Because, I mean, Jalen Brunson's a guy who likes to run the offense like that.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, if it's not working,
it could be Atlanta 2.0, you know?
If we eliminate, hey, why are we barking? That's not cool. Sorry, guys. Yeah. Sorry, audience. But I feel like damn, I lost my train of thought. Thanks, Kiba.
I just think, with Dejounte, he's got to, he'll go somewhere and he'll be good. He is a big contract as well. We do have to mention that. He's getting $25 million, I think, at least for the next 3 years or something like that. So he's getting paid a decent bag. What was that?
Oh, nothing.
I think
he's a Laker.
I think it's a slight upgrade from Quentin Grimes.
What? It is. I just wouldn't be willing to take on that money as well. Like, it is, it's a lot of money to take off.
Slight upgrade
not slight, but like, you know what I'm trying to say? Because
I don't, because slight is a little disrespectful.
I'm just saying height-wise.
I like Grimes
because I feel like Dejounte Murray, and this is trying to be as respectable as possible. I think he's already reached his height. And I think he could stay there. I think he could kind of stay there for a few years. But I think this is the best we're going to see Dejounte Murray be. And I think Quentin Grimes. Nothing's wrong with that. Absolutely nothing. And that's why I'm saying I feel like Quentin Grimes could be that perfect piece because towards the end of that career, I feel like Quentin Grimes can be a Dejounte Murray type player.
21, 5, and 4 as a secondary, really kind of like third. Like, because I'll count Jalen Johnson.
He's secondary.
Secondary.
I think certainly. I agree with Omar in the sense that, like, this is probably the best we'll see from Dejounte as a 2 guard. I think right now, unless he goes to a team where he is the primary ball handler, this probably will be his ceiling.
But there's also moments.
Or a Lakers, I could see him getting back to like 25.
Look at the games where there's no Trae Young.
Also, wait, if we eliminate the possessions where we're giving Julius the ball and letting him run the offense,
which is most of them,
and then we slightly cut like Brunson's amount of possessions, I feel like we can evenly kind of distribute it on who runs the ball there because there
I
are
don't think the fit's there, bro. You need a 2
I agree. It's really hard. It's really hard.
It's just none of us are saying Dejounte Murray is a bad player. Like,
it's hard.
It's clearly that he's a very good player. He can go be a very impactful player somewhere.
Yeah.
It's like most guys in the NBA. He just has to be in the right situation. There's probably only 6 or 7 guys that could be a top 10 player in the NBA that could be great anywhere at any position in any circumstance. Those are the elite MVP kind of guys. But for most of the league, they need to be in the right offense, playing at the right position with the right kind of teammates, the right kind of, city. It's all circumstantial. I just don't think the Dejounte circumstance would work good with what we got going on right now. Yeah. But I do think somewhere else, he could be a valuable asset. And could I see him going to the Lakers and helping him win a championship? Sure. Again, what's it going to cost? That remains to be seen. That's only something that Rob Pelinka knows the answer to.
Yeah.
Find it on the 15th.
Yeah. We'll see. We are coming
All
up on the
right, guys.
deadline, you know?
Yeah, we
Yeah,
are coming up on the deadline in February. There's going to be a lot of interesting moves. I feel like everybody's going to kind of save their moves to the last day so they can kind of get the best price. That's how
Yeah.
things typically go around the NBA. But I think we can kind of close the podcast out on that. Thank you guys so much for tuning in.
Earl,
I
you saw the
appreciate
amount
it.
of games the Lakers are going to win in 2024?
That's crazy. If that's the case, wow. See,
anyway, guys, thank you guys so much for tuning in, guys. We're gonna be more consistent. We're gonna be on Spotify as well as on here as always. But thank you guys so much. Hope you have a great day.
I got infinity money.